Does anyone realize that it's been a literal month since the last time I did a figure review? How the hell did that happen? I mean, I know there have been a boatload of reveals lately, but still, it's a little crazy how long it's been. So let's get back on the horse with my second attempt at being algorithmically synergistic. From here, at least until the movie comes out, all figure reviews will be Rise of the Beasts related. Let's see if this can get me those algorithm views I crave. Because boy, let me tell you, everyone seems to love the card readings, but no one is watching them. So if you want to help me out, your likes, please give. And if you enjoy what you see here, please consider subscribing. It's Mainline Rise of the Beasts Rhinox. And are you ready for me to blow your goddamn minds? You all know how down on the movie's chances of being good I've been. You all know that I'm not liking what I'm seeing with the designs. You've all borne witness to me mercilessly mocking these figures in their reveals. Well, as of right now, this is almost 100% guaranteed to be the best figure of Rhinox ever made. Since I bought this thing, I cannot keep my hands off it. Little else in Legacy has managed to hold my attention this much. Yeah. Bitter old PerspectiveEnd really likes a movie figure. And let me tell you, it's not exactly because of how this thing looks, but it's also not that. How does this thing look so awesome and so fugly at the same time? The colors, they're boring. The sculpt, it's ugly. The kibble is serious. But at the same time, the silhouette is striking. He looks beefy. He looks built. He looks jacked like he's gonna snap you in half. And he's constructed in such a way that I swear he is always doing a tough guy pose no matter how you have him standing. The general blurred out build of this dude is doing all the heavy lifting. So hilariously, this guy is actually cooler looking on a dark shelf shrouded in shadow, since you can see less of him. Yet I have the gall to put this wallflower under studio lights for a video. And look, you know me, I was always going to hate the design for being a departure from the character's actual look, but in a delicious ironic twist, this actually captures the spirit of the character way more than the Kingdom's Frieza-eared freak. That thing was dumpy, awkward, and had tiny hands. And while the hands here are not as big as they're supposed to be, you know what, I will take these. They are about as big as they could have made them without compromising the wider figure. So while the sculpt is sure doing its own very bad thing, and this is missing the key detail of the chest jaw, what's so damn funny to me is that so much of this is already ending up where it should, that the alteration to the transformation to put the rhino jaw on it would in fact be so minor that I'm completely convinced that they didn't do it exclusively because the movie designers wanted it to look unique. Really, all it would take is mounting the lower jaw on a hinge here at the collar, like they did with the original figure and the T-31. But who knows, maybe the designers just really wanted the rhino to be able to look up. I don't want to shit on everything about the sculpt though. I kind of really like the chains hanging down from under the pauldrons. It is both hardcore looking and edgy. And you know what? I can be here for edge. The shins with the giant fake screws in them are certainly a choice, and flipping around to the backside, they are the main repository of structural kibble, but I will take this any day over what the Kingdom figure had going on, where the worst side of his legs were the front. I do have to hand it to the colors in a weird way though. They look terrible, but they hide the gaps the figure has well. I would love to see a customizer assault this figure with some green. It would go so far in helping this thing look even a little visually interesting. I can't really think of any colors that are less complementary than brown and silver, the color of a turd produced by a kid who ate a bunch of nickels for attention. I will never understand the movie's obsession with sucking the life out of the colors. On another positive note, this thing stands like it's no one's business, which if you've owned some of the previous Rhinoxes, you know is not a given. So the fact that it can do this so well, largely thanks to some really good QC, is a nice little breath of fresh air. Nothing's loose, nothing's too tight, it all holds exactly the amount you'd want. I'm just shocked at how well this thing is getting handled so far. Until he gets to the head, that is. That facial expression screams that he just shit himself. Maybe that seeping through his clothes is where the overabundance of brown on him is coming from. I think the Kingdom figure still probably has the uglier head because that thing was a transgression against good taste, but this is not letting him have that crown unchallenged. He doesn't look angry or serious, he just looks distressed. Distressed and embarrassed. Probably because he knows he has a face that looks like a caricature of a sumo wrestler constructed entirely out of raw chicken wings that was then crammed into a Power Rangers helmet with a faceplate removed. So as ugly as this thing is, it also still manages to look really cool. On close inspection, its details tend to get in the way, but its broad shoulders and ass-kicking build really pull their weight. And the QC on the figure really helps. No fiddly, wimpy little pieces that I'm worried will break here, just all solid, chunky plastic. The accessories here take the Kingdom out back behind the shed and blow its brains out with about 4,000 rounds in 5 seconds. Because the miniguns this thing comes with rule. They put the garbage the Kingdom came with to shame. They are just about twice the size of the pathetic, anemic little Harbor Freight angle grinders that thing had. And while they look like they too will be too short front to back, making it seem like he glued the flat of a circular saw blade to his knuckles, just like the Kingdom's pea shooters, they actually have just enough standoff to honestly look like they fell straight out of the show. Even if it seems like they may have been trying to make them look like shitty-ass gun hands. But at least I could just 3D print a pair of extensions to remedy that. It wouldn't even be a little hard to design. Plus, unlike the Kingdom's tragic accessories, these actually spin. They aren't spring-loaded or anything, they just work by flicking, but I can't be mad at that when it looks this good. And it's all painted well. Not only do these accessories not suck, they're good. Better than 90% of the figures that I cover for this show. Then I was originally worried about posing before I ever got this thing, but it's actually pretty good. The head is probably the lamest joint, only swiveling. Extreme shoulders, you can fake a kind of bad backwards butterfly, ever so slightly more than 90 elbows, narcissa wrists, hips are unimpeded going forward, extremely unimpeded going out to the side, and they only pull like a 45 going back. You'd think that with all the kibble in the way, the legs would barely pull a 90, but they're actually able to pull just a little more than that. And you can fake them for maximum. And feet with a moderate pivot, a little wiggle backwards and forwards, and a toe down. So honestly, that's pretty excellent. With the exception of the head, the worst thing this has in terms of articulation is dead average. And most of it is moderately better than average to extremely better than average. And would you believe the best has yet to come? As this thing seemingly has a vendetta against the Kingdom Rhinox, the transformation actually kicks ass. I got this thing like 6 days ago, and I've probably already transformed it more than the Kingdom and Legacy Megatrons combined. And I love both of those figures. The worst part about it is that you just spin the robot head around, but everything else is intuitive, fun, and chunky. It all behaves the way it should, it's never confusing. This is just such an antithesis to the Kingdom's extreme overcomplication of the legs, where I'd rather pull the feet off than try and go through that process the way it's intended. It's the highlight of a figure that's already doing well in its other categories. And then you get his boxy little beast mode, and honestly, I like this a lot more than the robot mode, in terms of look at least. It's still a departure from the way the character's supposed to look, but it's a lot less noticeable here. Basically, all that tips you off that this is a robot is the silver around the eyes, and the fact that there are some unnecessary gaps that are just added to remind you that this is not a disguise. Plus, you know, the fact that his ass is shaped like a toaster. It's just kind of cute, just little brick of a rhino. Accentuated even more by his absolutely adorable little rear legs. Oh, they're so teeny! And articulated, so he can do this utterly heart-melting little trot. He can actually look up, and I just want to give him head pats. Plus, he's got a little mouth, which both manages to be easier to open and better looking than the Kingdom one. I don't know how a figure this ugly managed to turn into something this cute. And have I gushed enough about this thing yet? This feels unnatural for me. How does this show up the Kingdom figure in every possible way? I know that thing was one of the worst figures in decades, an ugly, inaccurate, badly posing, worst transforming sin of a figure, and its competition here is also ugly and inaccurate. Well, inaccurate to the show. We've yet to see if this is inaccurate to the movie, but it poses well, it transforms great, and the ult mode is a huge amount of fun. Buy it, you won't be disappointed. I don't know that you will think it's the best thing ever, but I'm pretty sure you'll go, man, this is better than I thought it had any right being. And since I have a little extra time here, why don't I review something I wasn't sure where to fit in? It's Mainline Rhinox, the one that's a gun. I somehow think that this is both significantly less cute than the bigger figure, but also at the same time just looks like a baby version. So the two of them together is just adorableness squared. Like a mama rhino and her, I don't know what a baby rhino is called. A cub? A foal? A Ford Hilux? Posability on this really isn't anything unless you're particularly impressed by his ability to prey, or maybe you just think he looks like he's cat loafing. In this mode, he doesn't have a lot of paint, and what paint is here really doesn't help this look cool from a design perspective, so let's just go into his more useful mode. This transforms pretty quickly and pretty unconvincingly into a minigun sticking out of where his ass once was. And while I try not to get too crass here, not because I'm above that kind of thing, but because that's Jobby's bit. But, does this now look like a little chode to anyone else? Maybe that's why the character card says that Rhinox only has one gun. Does this count as Rhinox farting Megatron to death again? So, this is acceptable enough. Though, for like $5, I don't know that I'm all that motivated to get any more of these. I may pick up Gat Gator Megatron, but I doubt I'll get any more than that. I mean, this Rhinox doesn't even look that good in weapon mode with Rhinox. I can't say these are selling themselves well. But the Voyager one sure is. It is fully getting my stamp of recommended. And if this looks like it does in the movie, which we haven't really seen yet, then I suppose that you could call this a micro masterpiece. In either event, I just find myself loving this thing, which I can't say I expected even a little. I bought this entirely out of obligation for my show, resigned to not liking it, thinking I might even wind up giving it away at the end of the video. But I just can't seem to find an end of nice things to say about it. Something like this has only ever happened a couple times before in the history of my channel, and I can't complain. Well, actually I can, because you know me, I'm really good at that. Seriously, if they just gave this thing a little color, a different surface sculpt, and mounted a jaw on the neck, it could have been so perfect. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.